Hi, everyone. Welcome to the May broadcast of the Q&A, free Q&A session here on Google Hangouts. I'm very excited to be here. I'm just clicking on a few last-minute details here while we get set up and wait and see if anyone shows up. I need that. All right, we're going to try something real quick. I'm going to see. Oh, I'm playing with a couple features, so I was wondering how that worked. Let's see. I wonder if I do it this way. Let's see if we'll be able to see it if I do this. Are you seeing my screen? Not that screen. I want this screen. Huh. I don't know how to do that. We'll play with it some more in between next time, and maybe I'll have a cool screen for you in between. All right, so if you are here, hello, nice to see you. I've got several questions. Howdy, I can't even spell today. This is crazy. I have spring fever, so it's hard to concentrate on what's happening. This is what I meant to say. Welcome and howdy. Something I used to say when I lived in San Francisco, I always said howdy because people thought I was from the middle of nowhere, being from Albuquerque. Anyway, I have some cool questions for everybody. And these are from a variety of sources. They've just kind of trickled in over the last bit of time. So let's start with something that Carol said or sent in. It's tied back to last month's webinar, so I wanted to get it on here. She said she was only able to listen last month, but was talking about the kids' art or the kids' school papers. She said that what she does is hang them on the door of a cabinet or a closet for the reference materials. She says the inside of her pantry door. She puts a calendar there for the school, the soccer calendar, a list of the team phone numbers, and then the kids can always find them that way too. They just open up the door. So that's also another great way of doing it. And if you do that, I kind of like putting them in sheet protectors just so they don't get accidentally ripped off the door. The paper tends to do that sometimes, so by covering them with some plastic can help. So thanks for that. Also that it's not so distracting because it's behind closed doors and not left out. So thanks for that suggestion, Carol. It's actually a good one and another option. Not everyone has doors. I do not have doors, so I tend to forget that other people do. So thanks for the reminder on that. Appreciate it. Let's see. Then I've got this one. This is kind of an older question, but it was lingering. I don't think I ever answered it. I'm not sure how long ago I got it, but it's a good question, so I thought I would do it today. Amber asks or says, I don't think I can make the webinar, but I would like to know how to organize and best use my time regarding emails. She has 3 accounts and feels overloaded often, wanting to know if I have any thoughts, which is great because I also got a question about email from Mersha this week. So let's do some email things. Email is definitely a problem for most people, including myself. And for whatever reason, we think of email as savable, much more than actual mail, even though paper piles can be a real problem for some people. I like to think of my email box just like I would think of going to my mailbox. I'm going to get some things in. Some of it's going to be trash. I'm going to trash that as soon as I can. I'm going to put the bills where the bills go. I'm going to put the action items where action items go, and I'm going to put the stuff to deal with right now or higher priority items where those go. So if you think about batching your emails like taking a trip to the mailbox out on the street or all the way to the post office, it can really help you prioritize. And so I'd like to think of having a session in the morning for my emails where I kind of triage for the day, like what are the most important ones to go through. But while I do that, I throw away as much as possible and I categorize the rest. and prioritize the rest. And I really set my timer for about 15, 20 minutes, and I just go into my inbox and I'll tell you a sorting thing in just a minute, but let's talk about prioritizing first. I go through each email in the box and I trash it, I delay it by moving it to the appropriate folder to work on that group of items at the same time. Like my bills to pay, I only do that a couple times a month. So anything that's a receipt or a statement, I pull over there for reconciling on the days I work on my money. If it is something really quick that requires an answer that's like less than a minute, like just a reply like yes, no, that date works, those kinds of quick responses, anything less than 2 minutes, I go ahead and do right then. Anything that is to read later gets pulled to a folder for read. And anything that requires a little bit more attention gets a flag for the day. So by the end of that 20 minutes, or if I finish that, usually that takes about 10 minutes. Then I have 10 minutes to actually deal with the next round of flagged items that may take 10 minutes or more to pull together. And so I reflag those with a different color. So I pull out anything that's going to be like longer period of time. So then I go back, and with whatever time is remaining in that first 20-minute session, I will try to answer 1 or 2 or 3 or 4 more of what's remaining. Okay, does that make sense? Then I go on about my day. Later in the day, I also do a double check just before lunch to see if anything urgent and new came in. And then after lunch, I tend to take about 40 minutes to deal with some of those longer replies and more considered responses that I need to do. That way, it's batched. Anything I've had a chance to pull my thoughts together about the response. I've had a chance to gather any materials that may be needed for the response. And so I can go through those and do them really quickly. Then I do one more quick, making sure nothing urgent came in at the end of the day. And that's all I do. Then for those batched items like the money, every other Monday, I go into the bills to pay folder and I deal with all of those and I sort them as I process them. So you're batching and processing like things together. Quick replies, bigger replies, specific routine items that have a thing. So I set up my inboxes though. Amber mentioned that she has several accounts. So do I. I have 3 different email accounts, but I read them all in the same email reader. So I am a Mac person. I read them in Mail, but 2 of them are Gmail accounts and 1 is my Comcast account. And so they all get fed into the same reader where I'm processing them all together. Now, depending on what your job is, I love the sort feature because I prioritize based on clients and people that I need to deal with at any given time. I tend to sort my email box by name and I thread conversations. So I'm not looking at separate emails. I'm always looking at the conversation between me and a client or me and a potential partner or me and my coaches in the same group. So it becomes a conversation rather than one-off emails scattered all over the place. I occasionally, to search for something or needing to look for something, I will resort, and this tends to be within one of my folders. I will resort by date with the newest on top so that I can backtrack it out. If you do not thread things, what did I used to do? I used to, if I got a response to a response and they were kind of embedded within each other, I would delete the older version and keep just the newest version of whatever the conversation was. That can keep things to a minimum. Now they're kind of linked, so it does it automatically for me, and I still will have all that extra. But I never print emails unless I absolutely have to. It's just, I have a few clients that print every single email because they think they can't read it on the screen, and that's a giant waste of paper these days. Mostly, I see people wasting a lot of time opening an email and then moving on. So my other tip is to set your email box, whether you do it in just a list order or a columnar situation, where you get enough preview that you don't have to necessarily open the entire email to remember what it was about. You get enough of the description in your thing. So you can scroll through and glance without open, close, open, close, open, close. Yeah, so that's the biggest thing that people do is they reopen something without dealing with it and think, I'll deal with it later, which is exactly what Marcia said. She said, email's out of control. I tend to set aside email to handle later, and it never comes. And it's because you need to schedule a little bit of time about it, Marcia. It needs to be a scheduled routine task, like opening it every morning 2 or 3 times throughout the day and processing the batch in a bigger block of time at some point during the day. Some things you don't have to process all the time, like my money emails. Those are, you know, just twice a month, but they get pulled over into the right spot every day. Just like if you got a bill in the mail, it would go to your bill paying station on your desk or in your kitchen. So keep that in mind. Just making sure if there's anything else in the list about email. Nope, that's it. So what I want you to do if you're feeling overwhelmed with your email right now is create a folder, because folders are really great. What you don't want is a separate folder for every single thing. You want folders for categories. So I think I told you I have a money folder. I have a to read folder. I have a folder that I pull stuff I read and want to share with other people in a folder I call content share. So that when I go to post things to social media, I have a stash of things I can repost with purpose. And it's part of my process when I'm doing social media to go to that folder and grab those items. There is a folder I call clients. So any client communications go in there. So I have a record of that. It's also attached to my CRM. So I have kind of a backup of my client conversations. I have one for that's any ongoing project that I happen to have, and I have one for each of my coaches. And then I have a couple for the people I follow, the emails, the newsletters that I really love. So I have a few of those just for the archived parts, just for the ones that I want to keep longer for reference or to use for a spark for a blog post I might write or to see what their launch sequence was like. So some business purpose things, but I have them sorted by the person they're from. So when I'm done with someone's program, I can weed that out really easily and keep just the program and move it over to my Evernote or my Dropbox and get rid of it from the mail program itself. But if you're overwhelmed right now, here's what I want you to do. We're creating one folder, call it Before May 2016. That's all you have to call it, Before May 2016. And you do a date sort on your inbox with newest on top and go to April 30th, 2016 and copy from there till the way far back and drag them over to that folder that says Before May 2016. That will give you about 2 weeks worth of email for you to process using this new process I just described to you. And then all of that other stuff will still be there if someone gets back to you or wants to follow up on something that fell through the cracks or whatever. But you don't need to worry about that, because if it's been 2 weeks and you haven't replied, you're already behind. And they are either going to remind you because it was important or it wasn't a big deal that you didn't deal with it. Okay, so you can let all that go. But it's there if you need it. And only to be looked at if you finish the rest of your inbox. I'm not the hugest fan of inbox zero. I happen to think boomeranging things makes you just open and close it in a different way on a different day. I'd rather you process. So my other hint on this is I do not set spam filters. No pre-spam filters, none. What I do is as I triage my mailbox, if I realize something is definitely spam, I mark it as spam from there on, but I just trash it. How is setting filters and then missing things from people I actually wanted to hear from just because there's some funny subject line, and then I have to go hunt for that email when they call me a couple days later and go, why didn't you reply? that's more of a waste of time than learning how to triage and recognize spam / junk mail / all that. All right, so the other thing you should probably try to do is start unsubscribing from all those newsletters and things. So here's something you may not know. You have to opt in to receive something from people. But in many cases, opting in means you do business with them. And so you really need to opt out. So instead of complaining for many minutes every day about all the email spam you get and all the junk mail you get, just start unsubscribing. Unfortunately, these days, a lot of autoresponders, that's the programs that actually cause these things to be emailed en masse to people every day, have settings that pre-schedule things, and so you're already attached to their list, just like the old mail, direct mail catalog things. You could call to get off a catalog, but it takes sometimes 6 to 8 weeks, and that's because things are already labeled. So you just have to be kind of vigilant, and sometimes it feels like you have to do it several times before it really comes off, but it eventually usually does. And if you want to get really crazy about it, you can create a list of all the ones you're unsubscribing to, and then if you get another one, you can send a little bit harsher message about it didn't come off when I tried to unsubscribe. So if it's something, though, that you think might be spam, and there's some great articles out there about how to recognize spam in your inbox, don't click on anything. Just delete it and mark as spam. But after the fact, don't try to pre-sort that, and then don't add it. Let your email program do the work for you. Now, I do know if you're in Gmail, they've changed the tabs, so double check your tabs and your tab settings. That can help too. So you can set a couple priorities on that, or you can just eliminate one of your tabs entirely. So I hope that helps you guys with the email, but really it's a matter of just processing. It's the same thing. So imagine, you know, sometimes I like to use ridiculous memory. So imagine ice cubes falling out the door of your refrigerator. Are you gonna pick them all up at once and then figure out why it's going wrong and fix it? Or are you just gonna let them keep falling all over the place? Eventually, you'll probably put a bucket under there to catch them, and then you'll just empty the bucket every once in a while, which is what I'm getting at. You just wanna fill the glass with, or the bucket with the ice cubes and deal with it at once, not going and picking one up every once in a while. If you have one of those leaky ice doors. Anyway, my mom has one of those. Every once in a while, an ice cube just goes flying across the kitchen. It's kind of funny. Okay, so let's see. Mercia had a couple more questions that are along the same lines. I've got, it seems like a couple people keep coming on and then hopping right back off. So I'm not sure if they're in the wrong place or if I'm really that boring or if something's gone awry. But you can hear about it later on YouTube because this goes there too. All right, so things to do lists and things to organize lists. Where do I put them and how do we handle them? Think about that. Things to do lists. Okay, things to do lists. I'm a huge fan of my Moleskine planner. To do list, master list, many pages long. So I keep an ongoing to-do list in the front of my Moleskine. So from the front back is always several pages of to-do list. In the back half, I use as agendas, which might be your things to organize lists. So for instance, this page here is my Instagram plan. And this is my quick tasks. So I keep a list of the very quick things. So when I have just a few minutes. And I have a list of ideas for my I noticed something posts. And I have the list of all the stuff I'm going to put in the next newsletter. So I have kind of areas designated within my Moleskines, but all my lists are in the same notebook. That's what I do. That way I don't have 1,000 different lists all over the place. I have 1,000 pieces of paper to do stuff with right now, but they're not to do lists. And everything in the piles on my desk are part of the list. Like they support the work on the things on the list. Then once a week, usually on Saturday night or Sunday morning, I take my master list and I take my calendar. Yes, I still use a paper calendar. I also use the electronic for my client scheduling, but I transfer the important to-do stuff into my calendar. And I am a really big fan of the Week at a Glance. This is a Moleskine style planner. This is actually the Evernote edition, but it has the actual calendar on one side and it has just blank pages on the other. And I kind of sort it on the page. So I take my, anything dated that has to be done on a certain date from my list, and I put it on that date. Anything that just needs to get done, I put on the page that's just lined paper, and that can happen in between and around. But it helps me kind of visualize how much time do I have, and it's nice because there's only a few lines per day, so you don't ever have a to-do list of 87 items. You have a to-do list of 4 to 8 plus appointments, and that's usually fairly manageable by the end of the week. So I hope that helps, Marsha. It's really just having a system, a way of thinking through the workflow process of whatever it is you're doing. So for instance, we talked about the email already. That is a workflow, and email is a thing that's marked on my day. Every day I have a little E for email so that I do that email triage, and I make sure I do it by just putting a little line through it. I have my routines, my action stacks, whatever you want to call them, the things that have to get done every single day. They just get a letter code and I cross it out so that I remember if I did it on any given day. So mine are M for money, recording my receipts and income for each day. And I do my email every day, and I make calls every day, and I do a marketing thing every day. So I just have MECM and I cross them out as I go. That works really well, actually. So it helps you get the routine, it helps you get in the habit. If you miss, it's really easy to remember if you really missed or if you just didn't cross it out. Hope that helps. So the next question that Marsha had was right around the same thing, time management. Time management is a big issue. So much to do, not enough time. Best way to manage our time and things to do. So that's it. That's what I use. I do a layering system. My appointments that have an actual date and time are on the calendar. Next, I add in those routines, the money, email, calls, and marketing. That's my routines every day. That's the second thing I do every day. And then I do project work around those. And the projects come from the to-do list. So sometimes they're, 8 small tasks in a day, or sometimes it's one bigger project like write blog post. Sometimes it's 2. It's blog post plus newsletter, or newsletter plus prep next week's upcoming email. So there's the 3 or 4 layers: the commitments, which are the appointments, the routines, the projects. And sometimes there's special projects on top of that. So there's regular projects and special projects. That's how I do my time management. All the things that can be automated as much as possible are. So errand running, shopping, getting gas, working out, getting ready for bed, making dinner, making meals, all that stuff is automated. So it's part of the routine layer in my schedule. So I don't have to, oh no, I forgot to eat lunch. I always eat lunch. Great. This was a really great bunch of questions, and I am so glad that we get to record these. So even if you can't see them live, you can watch the video later. So I will be sending everybody the links to this, and tell all your friends. They can always watch after the fact over on YouTube. And yeah, great questions. And be sure to sign up for next month's webinar as well, where we can answer even more questions. Thanks so much. Appreciate it. Bye. We're slowly but surely getting the hang of it. See you later. Bye.